Now that Marvel Phase 4 has complete with Black Panther Wakanda Forever, it's time for a tier list. All right, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel, and today we have a very special video. I've been wanting to do this for a while, but I wanted to wait until after I saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever. But given the fact that this film has finished, and I got to see it, I have now seen every film and TV show inside of Phase 4, and it is time for us to rank them. Now, this isn't my tier list, okay? This is one that I found. I'm pretty sure it has just about everything. Now, Phase 4 has been very interesting because it's not only incorporated, a lot of films that we've come to, see, and some of which we really enjoyed, but it's also incorporated TV shows as part of their growing narrative. And it's really interesting to see how, I know this is off topic, but it's really interesting to see that now James Gunn is running DC. I'm very curious to see if they'll be able to do something like this because I've really enjoyed it with Disney Plus. It's given a chance to flesh out some characters in shorter stories than them making a full-length movie out of it. I think it's been something that's really worked in terms of building out this universe, and like I said, I've really enjoyed it. But this list should have just about everything from Phase 4. Even has Black Panther Wakanda Forever on here as well. So I think, we won't waste any time. We're just gonna jump right into it. So starting things off, we had Black Widow. Black Widow, I think, was one of the first films to come out, and forgive me if this isn't entirely in order. I'm gonna try to go in order. I have a list here. But we're gonna try to go in order. So obviously we had Black Widow. Now Black Widow came out, and it was I think it did a good job at kind of kicking off certain things like Valentina de la Fontaine, who's gonna be, I guess, running the Thunderbolts kind of thing, or she's been recruiting for the Thunderbolts at least. And yeah, I think that was really cool. But other than that, this film, to me, did not really serve a purpose whatsoever. In my opinion, it didn't really serve a purpose. I think Black Widow, in my opinion, should have come out a while ago. It should have come out it should have come out years ago, in my opinion. I think this character was deserving of her own solo film for sure, but I feel like it should have happened earlier. Now, obviously, the way that they did it, it definitely worked, because it allowed us to get Yelena, who's going to be the next, I guess, Black Widow. And so it, was a way to introduce her in a way. But yeah, I don't know. I think the film was good, but for now, I think I'm going to put it in the C. Like, it was all right. But yeah, my gripe with it is that I feel like this film should have come out, in Phase 2. I think that would have helped, and it would have been cool to see Yelena come back into the picture years later when we're in Phase 4 and see her once again. I think that would have been a cool moment. But either way, it's in the C. It's all right. Next up, we got Shang-Chi. Shang-Chi is a film that I personally really enjoyed. I think there was a lot of hope for it. I think it was, after coming off of Black Widow, I think it was a much better improvement. I liked the 10 rings. I liked the character of Shang-Chi. I think it leaned heavily into comedy, which, Marvel's been doing a lot more recently. And some of the jokes landed, some of them didn't. Seeing Simu Liu as a person, if you follow him on TikTok and things like that, I think he's definitely a charismatic person, and I love that about him. So I think it fits with him being Shang-Chi. I think I just want to see more of Shang-Chi and how he fits into the MCU. But as an introductory film to a character that's, a bit more culturally diverse than we've seen in years past and phases past, I think this was a really good film. I'm going to put it in the A. Now, if you don't agree with that, I totally understand. I know Shang-Chi wasn't everybody's cup of tea, but I felt like the action, the choreography, the fighting scenes, I think they were some of the coolest that they've done. I really loved the fight choreography in this film. I liked the story as a whole. I won't say that it was necessarily perfect, but I would say in the realm of comparing it to other Phase 4 projects, I would give it an A. I think it was a good film, and I'd see it again. Next up, we have The Eternals. The Eternals is a film that I think is very divisive amongst the the MCU fandom and the community. I feel like some people really have come to love and appreciate the Eternals, or at least one or two characters within the movie. And then there's others that have no problem just shitting all over this movie. They did not like it. They felt like it was too long. I will agree. I feel like the film ran on too long. I also feel like it tried to do a lot. I feel like it tried to do a lot. And that was inevitably its potential downfall. So I would say that for Eternals, I gotta put that in C too. I feel like it was a film that had very strong ambitions. It was a very ambitious film. However, at the same time, I feel like it was its ambition that inevitably was its undoing. It was a film that was trying to do a lot, and that is both a good and a bad thing. So with that being said, I don't know if I liked it enough to put it in B. I gotta put it in C. Like, it was all right, you know? Next up, we gotta go with Spider-Man No Way Home. I don't even care. I'm sorry. This is a very divisive decision, but I'm gonna put Spider-Man No Way Home in the S tier. I feel like this film, not just with its use of cameos, I think it played very well with its cameos and introducing so many different characters from the multiverse. But I think outside in this whole multiverse saga that we find ourselves in, I think Spider-Man No Way Home did a great job not only introducing new characters, old characters, the multiverse in general, but I feel like it was just a really strong film. Now, it's not necessarily saying that it was perfect, but I won't sit here and deny that its use of cameos and bringing Toby and Andrew as you know, surprise characters in this film was not one of the greatest things that Marvel has ever done. And with that being said, like, you have to show respect to a film that is able to do that. This film brought 3 generations of Spider-Man into this one movie, and I think that is something that we simply cannot deny. Like, this film was and is, in my opinion, one of the best films that Phase 4 has done. And if you agree, if you disagree, I understand. Like, let me know down in the comment section below what you would rank it as. I could also see it being an A, but to say it's anything less than that, I don't know if I agree with that. And I you know, a lot of people blame the cameos and say, oh, it's not as good if it wasn't, if it didn't have all these cameos. But, you know, I feel like what they did fit very well with the movie, and I don't think that their use of cameos should be shamed upon, you know? With that being said, it is in the S rank. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, I'm gonna put in B tier. This film was okay, but after I saw it, I felt like there was just some, you know, maybe this is my fault, the expectations. I don't necessarily liked what they did with Wanda's character, making her kind of a villain in a way, and kind of playing on the same trauma that we've seen her kind of dealing with and facing for what feels like, you know, we saw it in WandaVision, we saw it in a couple other projects as well. And I feel like I don't know. I would have liked to see Wanda do a little bit more. However, some of the things that they did do in this film were really cool. Bringing in the, you know, hinting at the X-Men being in this film. I think Professor X being in here was really cool. I love the trailers for this film before it actually came out. I just don't necessarily like what they did with Wanda's character, and I feel like the opportunity for them to do a little bit more with the whole multiverse of madness could have been a lot better. I would have liked to see them actually go and be a part of an animated world, like kind of like What If. I would have liked to see them do some really just crazy stuff with this film, because it was the multiverse of madness, and I would have liked to see them utilize the multiverse in more ways than they did. And so with that being said, it was a film that I enjoyed over the summer, but I didn't necessarily feel the need or want to see it again. I would say, you know, I would give it was a B tier. It was all right. I wouldn't say it was C. I wouldn't say it's in the same realm as Eternals and Black Widow. Like, in my opinion, I have much more gripes with those two films than I do with Multiverse of Madness, but I didn't like it as much as I liked Shang-Chi, and I had a lot higher hopes for this film. And so Shang-Chi being an origin film, you got to cut it a little bit more slack than Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness being kind of the sophomore film for this character. And with that, like, there's no need, you know, they're not really fleshing anything out like they are kind of trying to build up the universe in Shang-Chi. And yeah, I had a lot higher hopes for it, and I'll leave it at that. Now let's talk about Thor: Love and Thunder. I liked it better than the first two Thor films. However, I didn't like it as much as Ragnarok. Ragnarok, I would put in S tier. Thor: Love and Thunder, I thought was a fun film. I thought the use of Mighty Thor was really cool. I liked the story for the most part. I would have liked to see more of Gore, the God Butcher. I think that they didn't utilize him as much as I would have liked. He was all right. You know, he had a pretty simplistic plot, you know, pretty simplistic character. wants to kill the gods, all that kind of stuff. Them going to Olympus, I thought was cool. Again, a film that I saw, like Doctor Strange: The Multiverse of Madness, that I don't necessarily feel like I'd want to or need to see again. And so, but I liked it more than these two. I liked it more than Eternals, and I liked it more than Black Widow. So I'll put it in B tier. It was all right. And I think for the final film of this list, I don't know why Secret Invasion is on here, but I think the final film of this list is obviously Black Panther Wakanda Forever. Now, I don't know if I'm saying this because I just saw this film, but I had high expectations, high hopes for this film. There's a lot of emotional connection to this film, not only because of the death of Chadwick Boseman, but because of the Black Panther, just loving that character in general. High hopes for the future for this film. I loved this film. I loved I loved the introduction to Namor and the Atlanteans and Talokan and the history behind that, and the action, the CGI sequences I think were really cool. There were some pacing issues that I found. However, I would still put it as an S tier film. I really enjoyed it. And the blemishes that this film does have and the little critiques that I have for this film, in my opinion, aren't necessarily enough to detract from what is arguably one of the best films that they've put in Phase 4. So these are kind of the rankings of the films. Not, A tier, I'd say, like I said, Shang-Chi could also be an A tier film. It could also be a B tier film. Like, it was, it was good, but I really liked it. I liked Shang-Chi, and I'm not going to shy away from that. I thought it was a good film. Now, we're moving on into the shows now. And with the shows, obviously, we'll start with one of the first ones that came out, which was WandaVision. Again, I liked, one thing I really liked, I'll say one thing I really liked about this film or this show was, it was one of the longer ones that they did at about 9 episodes. But one of the beautiful things that I really liked and enjoyed was the fact that every episode was in a different time era. And so with that time era, they also changed the intro of every episode. They changed the cadence. They changed the cinematography of each episode, and it all kind of tied into the overall plot. And when I think about it that way, and I think of how the connection to that and Vision and the greater MCU as a whole, how that connects to Multiverse of Madness, I would put this film in an A tier. I like the tie-in and kind of how moments of the past in Phase 3 lead up to WandaVision. I like how they tie in what Wanda's dealing with as a character in this world, in this town that she's taking over. I like how it connects to future projects that will exist, whether that be Multiverse of Madness, whether that be Agatha and her series that she's going to be getting. I think this show is really important for the story progression. And so with that being said, I'd put it as an A tier. I think it was a really strong start to the Disney Plus show lineup that they've done. And yeah, it's a show that I would watch again for sure. Next up, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier. There was some stuff that I really liked about this show. I thought it was really cool. Baron Zemo was really cool. Bucky being in the show, his kind of relationship with, Falcon, who becomes the new Captain America, I think was cool. And I really liked it. There were some moments that I found to be really corny, some pacing issues in the show that I was like, wait, what? And I think this show is really what kicked off the conversation that we started to have about some of these Marvel shows having a bit of a pacing issue, where some of them were a little shorter than they needed to be. And, I know they're trying to make them like limited time series, but yeah, I would say that, I didn't like it as much as WandaVision. I liked it at the time. I didn't dislike it enough to put it in C rank, though, to say it was like, okay. I think B is a pretty safe bet. It was a good show. It progressed the universe, right? But there are some blemishes that I feel like exist in this show. I also didn't like the secret agent, whatever. I didn't like him as a character. I thought he was super annoying. He was kind of a predictable character. You could see the trajectory of what he was going to do. And then when it happened, it just felt a little anticlimactic to me. But I did like the separate relationships that these two characters had. I liked, Falcon and his desire to want to help save, his family's boat, I think it was. And then, Bucky had his own traumas that he was dealing with and still trying to unravel from when he would turn into the Winter Soldier. And so, yeah, I would say that, I liked those. I like those for sure. But I would put it at B tier. Next up, we have Miss Marvel. Miss Marvel, I would put in C tier. I think there was some stuff that was good about it, but it was definitely a show that I feel like was made for younger audience. I don't know. In my opinion, at least, I feel like they potentially could have done a little bit more. A lot of people had some issues with this show. Like, they didn't like how it didn't, people didn't really connect with the character of Kamala. But I do like that there was a little bit more representation and all that kind of stuff. So, you know, in my mind, I would put it in like a C rank. Again, I didn't like it as much as I liked WandaVision and as much as Falcon, but I'm not going to try to like hate on it and say that it was a D tier film or a D tier show. I would say it was solid. So I'm going to put it in C tier. Now, Loki, on the other hand, I think was just visually, as the character who was originally seen as bad, where I also feel like the character of Loki was just a bit misunderstood. I think having him have his own show of about 8 episodes or something, I think this really fleshed out the character a little bit more in ways that we were not expecting. Loki, in my opinion, is an S tier show. And so it's got to go there. Now, Hawkeye, on the other hand, in my opinion, Hawkeye is a D tier show. It is one of the only Marvel shows that I just genuinely didn't like. I didn't like that they gave Clint Barton, Hawkeye, his own show just to have it be kind of a kickoff for Kate Bishop and her character, and kind of, I don't know. Is D tier a little harsh though? Like, to say that it was a D tier, I mean, there were some things that I did like. Like, I liked how it was a little lighthearted. I like how it was kind of like a Christmas themed show, or at least it happens during the Christmas time, the holidays. But I feel like with everything that happened with Clint Barton, I would have liked to see a show that was strictly based on him, what he was dealing with after the blip, those 5 years that he kind of was dealing with some stuff, and when he was becoming or being Ronin. I would have liked an entire show dedicated to his kind of redemption arc as a character. But like I said, they kind of just pushed that to the side and was like, hey, there's this cute girl that we're going to bring in. She's going to be part of the Young Avengers, and we're going to kind of build her character up in this show. I feel like that would have been great maybe in the second half, but I feel like the first couple episodes definitely should have been dedicated more towards like Clint and what he had been dealing with. He also lost one of his best allies and best friends in the Infinity War, you know, kind of saga. He definitely deserved time to grieve that. And I think as an audience, I think it would have been really cool to see what he had been going through during that time, but they didn't do that. So like I'm saying, it's a D tier film in my opinion. What If, I'm going to put in, What If in B tier. I like the concept, and I think this is a kind of series that can go on indefinitely. There's a lot of what if moments that I think they could play around with. And this show, I think, also connects to, you know, providing some context to some characters that we see in Multiverse of Madness and some other projects, and just giving us a different glimpse at what life might be like if something XYZ were to happen. And so as a result, I would say it's a B tier film, or a B tier show. I can't wait to see what they do with, you know, What If season 2. I think there's an opportunity for this to be a little higher on the list, maybe A tier possibly. But for right now, I would say like, yeah, I liked some of the episodes, but there were some episodes that I didn't necessarily like. And so with that being said, I think I'm going to put it in B tier. Now, She-Hulk I would say She-Hulk is an A tier show. And I know that this might be a little divisive for a lot of people. There's many people that might not agree with that. However, for me, I felt the show to be funny. I felt it to be interesting, and in a way, I loved the introduction of Daredevil in this universe. I loved his rapport that he had with Jen Walters, and I genuinely just like Jen Walters as a character. I don't know why people hated on this show so much. It's a show that I really enjoyed. I found it to be fun and a good break from some of the other shows. Did it have the best connection to the MCU? Not necessarily, and in that case, you know, it loses a few points for that. But it is a show that in its own right was comedic, was humorous, and was not afraid to kind of push the boundaries and you know, and kind of buck back at the haters a little bit directly within the context of the show. I think there was a lot of brilliant writing in this show. I really enjoyed it. I'm going to put it in A tier. It was a fun show. Come on now. You already know. Moon Knight's one of my favorite shows. I was excited about it before it came out. Oscar Isaac absolutely just dominated as this character. I loved his roles as Moon Knight, not only because of the action and you know, kind of the plot and the storyline of the show, but also because, you know, Oscar Isaac as an actor like really had to have a lot of range for this character. He had to play multiple different roles, and I just loved it. Plus, I'm like really big into like Egyptian stuff, Norse stuff. Like, those are some of my favorite kind of historical, you know, realms to dive into. I really love the cultural the cultural presence that this show had, and them going into Egypt and stuff like that. I loved Arthur Harrow as a villain. I think the Egyptian gods was really cool. The aesthetic of Moon Knight, the cinematography. There's so much I could go on to and say why this show was good. But yeah, Moon Knight, in my opinion, same as Loki. Those are my two favorite shows on the MCU. So this is the ranking. I mean, I don't know why Secret Invasion is on here. I don't know if Secret Invasion was originally meant to be a Phase 4 show, but either way, this is the ranking. I feel like it's pretty balanced. No disrespect to Hawkeye, but when people ask me about Hawkeye, I just get a little bitter because, in my opinion, it wasn't that good. I had a lot more high hopes for this show, and I found myself with every episode just kind of dragging to finish it. And I know it's a little crazy to put Miss Marvel a little bit higher. However, I feel like Miss Marvel potentially did a little bit more for progressing the MCU than Hawkeye did, in my opinion. Now, I know Hawkeye it's going to lead into Echo. It brought in Wilson Fisk. It brought in Kate Bishop. It brought in Yelena and fleshed her character out a little bit more. So yes, it did do a lot. This is just my personal opinion. I would have liked to see more focus on Clint, and that's why I had to rank it a little bit lower than like Miss Marvel. But that's the ranking. Let me know what you guys think. Is there any show on here that you feel like should be higher? Is there any show on here that you feel like should be lower? Let me know down in the comment section below. I'm very interested to see what you guys have to say about this ranking. This is kind of the Phase 4 so far, though. There was a couple of movies and shows that I feel like really stood out. Like I said, Black Panther Wakanda Forever, Spider-Man No Way Home, Loki, Moon Knight. I feel like those were like the top tier of what Phase 4 brought to the MCU. And I'm very excited to see what they do in Phase 5. I think Phase 5 begins in February with Quantumania. So expect things to kick off in a big way there. But given the fact that, you know, Black Panther Wakanda Forever just came out, we actually got to see it. I had to put this ranking together and see just how everything kind of stacks up. In my opinion, I could see myself moving some things around a little higher and lower on this list, but just off of like looking at it, thinking about the films and the shows, and just putting it on the list and sticking to it. This is the list. This is what I feel like to be you know, my ranking. And if your ranking is different, let me know where you'd put certain things on this list, and we can have a discussion about it. But yeah, that's all for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this tier list, and if there's another tier list you'd like me to make, because I do enjoy these, let me know down in the comment section below, and we can look into doing these maybe regularly. But that's all for me. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy, drop a like on this video, subscribe if you're new, all that good YouTube stuff. And as always, my name is That Guy Rye, and I'll see you guys next time.